And
Yeah.
and Chelsea's here. I'm just doing chores, so I turned off my camera and muted myself. So
Okay. Okay. So now we're all here. All right, good. Loretta she's still with us. Okay. All right. So the minutes from the last meeting. Anybody have any changes on the minutes?
Well, I thought I saw something, but I can't find them. So I got to mark them and saw.
Okay.
That's not what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't know if anything serious.
Well, I read through them and I didn't see anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you a minute, Peter.
I know,
Oh, there's something about a date,
there
wasn't
was
it?
something, Craig, you
Yeah,
got the
Craig.
last initial wrong because his initial is a V. For
And it should be a
also,
C. It was a C, it should be a V.
Okay, Craig B.
Yeah.
All right, so we will,
That was what it was.
okay. All right, is there a motion to accept the
So
minutes
moved.
with that
As
correction?
amended.
As amended? Okay, is there a second?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, all in favor, say aye or raise your
Aye.
hand. Okay, motion passes. Okay, Peter's not gonna be here, July 8th, which would be our normal meeting. So could we move our next meeting to July 15th?
Sure. Sure. I'm going to Washington DC with two of my grandsons. They're interested in what's going on. The youngest, I believe, is 7. The other one's 15. He's interested in Abraham Lincoln, and he has made it. He wants to go see the Lincoln Memorial and see Ford's Theater. So we're going to go do that. Plus, there are other things to see.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
And I have already put in word to Derek Kilmer's office to see if we can get through the White House and the Capitol building. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Those are a little tighter, considering the securities on those, but no.
Okay, let's go to the treasurer's report, and Jim sent it to us in a document. So Jim, you want to say anything?
It's pretty self-explanatory. We're, like I said in the email, we're still well in the black on the year. Doing better than we expected at this point in the year due to the big influx last month. Long term, not sustainable, but looking good right now. Hopefully the return to church and more in person and the ability to do special events will help with that over time.
Okay. And our expenses are about what we planned, I think, aren't they, on sort of on budget?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right, any questions? Anything?
I was happy that we were making. Yeah, we're staying solvent.
That's almost halfway through the year, and we're in the black, so that's good. We'll see how the rest of the year goes. Okay. Motion to accept the treasurer's report. Is there a second? Okay. All in favor of accepting the treasurer's report, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I guess we should all raise hands. So okay. All right. Okay. So old business estimates for cleaning services. I contacted 3 cleaning services and I got 3 bids. One from Wonderland Cleaning, a nice young man named Robbie Vanden Hol came by and his was $290. That would be 2 cleanings at $145 each. There was a young woman, April, who put in a bid for 2 cleanings at $272.50.
is that 2 a month or 2 a year?
2 a month.
2 a month.
That's a monthly charge. So he would charge $290 for 2 cleanings a month. She would charge $272 for 2 cleanings a month. And 3 Green Team Cleaning was 2 young people who came out, and they said $400 a month. So that's what I got.
Now these are all with the same parameters for cleaning.
I gave them all the same list of things we wanted done. And it was, like sweep the nave, sweep and mop the kitchen, clean the surfaces, and stuff like that. So they all got the same thing. They all bid on the same thing.
Do we have any information of these people, any other work they do?
I guess we could look it up, but I didn't.
Recommendations and background information.
Now, I'm recommending that we take the bid of the Robbie Vanderholt Wonderland cleaning. It's not the cheapest, it's the $290. But the woman who had the lower bid at $272 was very hard to get a hold of. I had to pursue her to get her to get the bid in. And she brought up all these personal things she had, and it's like, I don't want to hear about that. I just want to get your bid. I think she'd be a handful to work with.
Yeah.
You need to be able to reach people.
Well, you got to at least, main thing is to do the work. Cheryl Messino, I did at the last place. Gosh, she never said anything. She just always did it. She was wonderful. And when I did talk to her, she was great. And she was just totally reliable. So that's my number one thing, to be reliable.
She's not here anymore.
She retired.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I contacted her for references, but she didn't have me.
The other part of this is, even if he comes in and he does a month and you find that it's not acceptable, you can always terminate it.
Yeah.
So that, you know, you have the opportunity to see the workmanship, to see whether actually the work is actually being done. And then if it's being done and it's looking great, hey,
He's required to sign a contract. He's requiring St. Antony to sign a contract. Like,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean? So he'll be like, you're signed as 2 years, you're with him.
Well, no, you should have a provisionary period for 6 months provisionary period.
We never had a contract before. I don't know.
And I kind of think you better.
Probably should. And there's probably some kind of standard contract form out there.
Yeah.
I would think that everybody would have one. I didn't even think about that. Something like you say, provisionary period.
Yeah. That's a liability coverage too.
Probably, yeah.
I can look it up because I used to clean.
Yeah.
And there's some things that go along with that too. You need to make sure that they have they're registered with the L&I and that sort of thing. You
Yeah.
make sure they have insurance and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Now this guy, it's Wonderland Cleaning LLC. So he's got a limited liability corporation. You know, looks good on paper. Better than the.
You go to the Secretary of State's office and look up that LLC. And,
Oh, okay.
See right, how to do, make sure it's in good standing.
Yeah.
It's really easy to type LLC.
True.
It's
True.
another thing to
Yeah.
actually have it registered with the state.
Should we have complaints whatsoever? Are you guys okay with that? Or like, if he had a complaint towards his business and it was rectified? I mean, it depends what his background is and his records. Do you have a backup?
Well, we might have to reconsider. I really wasn't comfortable with the one woman who had a 272, and this was the two young people. They just wrote it down on a piece of paper.
For $400.
I didn't think that was super professional. So,
Well, whoever is considered a contract person rather than an employee.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you get into all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah, and you know, it's just like Bill says, if it doesn't work out, you know, find somebody else.
Well, you can say, this is what we needed you to do, and you didn't do it this month, correct it. and move
Right.
on.
Yeah.
Too. And goes both ways, but yeah, I think 3 to 6 months provisionary period is gonna work out, but that's find out.
Right, that's.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there seem to be a number of these around, and so just, you know, we need to find another one, but we'll get started with one. So that's my recommendation, that we do this Wonderland cleaning.
For the 6 month provisionary.
You should start with
Probationary.
3.
3, start with 3, and you're gonna know.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not about you.
You'll be like, hey, we had 12, 20, but now we have 4.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Okay, so can I have a motion to accept the Wonderland cleaning bid?
Do we have a proposed start date or?
What would you like?
Well, do you think we should do a contract first before you do that, or?
Oh, yeah. So we could target July 1.
I
Sure.
think July 1's good.
Okay, start in July, two cleanings in July.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, so that's part of the motion. We got second to the motion?
Second.
Okay. So there's a motion and a second to accept a Wonderland Clean LLC estimate of $290 a month.
Sure.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, motion passes. Okay, good, thank you. The next item is septic repair. I told you last month that we had a bid of 1,177 from, what was the name again? Whitworth Excavating Company. They're the company that put it in and did a poor job. So I called Aquarius Septic, and he came out and looked at it and said, I don't want to do this. Too much digging. So I called Kitsap Septic, like Bill suggested, and they came out and said, we don't want to do it either.
Oh, geez.
Well, how deep do they have to dig?
Well, you're gonna have to get down there 2 or 3 feet all around this big pipe. Well, Aquarius, he didn't have an excavator. It's not a very pretty job, you know, it's a messy job.
Well, that's why they're in the septic business.
Well, true. Anyway, that's what I got.
I wasn't going to say it.
I had to, it just popped out.
Yeah.
It's a-
Oh, no.
Oh, there's lots more.
There are bunches. Well, and it might be we have that price from Whitworth because he's saying, we should have done it right.
Yeah, that's the thing is, he was supposed to. have
You
done
let it go,
correctly.
well,
He didn't, will he fix it correctly?
Yes, that's what I'm.
Yeah.
well,
Or what do we have as a way to get back if it is not fixed correctly?
well, you reported that it's that county public health.
Right.
Yeah.
They would be all over it.
And it's reported to the business licensing department in the state of Washington. All of a sudden they pull his license and, oops. No, but if you don't fix
No,
what you broke.
yeah, I know.
Well, we gotta move ahead with it anyway, so.
I mean, yeah, it's one of the, it has to be done.
You know, we're fine while it's dry. The issue was groundwater migrating down the sleeve and going in, so it's,
It only happens when the ground is saturated, like in November.
yeah.
But now's a good time to do it. And we have to do this because Kitsap Public Health District
Was
has it on the records.
Yeah.
Jeez.
They,
Well, we don't want us shut down.
no,
No,
they'll
it's
shut us
next.
down if we don't get this fixed.
That'd really be the.
Well, they're not charging for
It wouldn't
labor.
leave us very flush.
Pardon me?
They're not gonna charge for labor. This cost is just for the work itself.
I'm not sure. I think
That-
they said
that's a-
something like that.
I think that's everything to get it completed. Right.
That's the labor and materials.
Unless you have like a bunch of you wear like suits and stand here watching them do it. But it's still
Dark suits, dark glasses,
intimidated.
this.
I don't know.
Microphone on.
Get a couple of guys to go out and talk to him.
And then you'll be like with your clipboard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they'll do a good job.
Well,
It's only official if you're also drinking coffee.
Yeah.
You have to drink coffee too to make it work.
okay.
I'm having trouble with hearing everyone's discussion, so this might have already been brought up. I just wonder, as far as like the county, whoever kind of approved the work that had been done, if they've been consulted and have any guidance about what to do about this situation and kind of what's a legal recourse.
Did the county inspect this?
Yes.
They have to.
Oh, absolutely.
It's got to pass the inspectors in order for us to get open.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was substandard work. Certainly something wasn't done properly. It seems like the county needs to be notified and just find out, do they play a part in having approved something that then fails.
I guess, I gotta think back on whether that was inspected and approved by the health district or inspected and approved by DCD.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Which part of the county? Do you know which part of the county would inspect that, Loretta?
No, I don't. Just, you know, I mentioned to you, my neighbors was an engineer. She used to approve septic designs, and she was angry when she heard about this. And she had said there was someone at the county who that's their expertise, is kind of approving septic design. So I don't know in Kitsap County if there is or not.
Isn't the design, it was the actual
The actual work.
workmanship that went into putting it together.
Mm-hmm. And then after the work was done, it was inspected. Is that?
After the work was done, it was buried real quick and they got away with it.
And it may have looked just fine when they got it inspected without the flaw showing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if you can see it.
It just
now.
seems like yeah, we are kind of stuck, probably going back to them to do the work, but it just seems like there should be some big stick as far as some consequence for them, because it doesn't sound like they're very sorry. It's like, oh, well, they're not cutting us a deal. And we don't know, how confident are we they're going to do it right? I'm not. So it just would be good if there's some kind of stick in terms of, if this isn't done right, kind of what steps are going to be taken to kind of just complaints. I don't know I don't know in terms of licenses, that there can be complaints about somebody who has a license. And then
and find out about who's from the community development, what direction that goes, whether that's a health department inspection or a DCD inspection, and see what we can do there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's something that just kind of grates on me to think that they did the job and now we have to pay them over $1,100 more to fix it.
For something that should have been warranted.
What does it say on their contract? You know what I mean? Like if they
1 year
do their
warranty.
1 year warranty, and when this happened or when we got inspected, was it within the one year?
No, it was just outside.
Of course it was.
Okay, but because of COVID, can they make an
Right.
like how everybody else make an exception because of COVID?
Well, let me talk to DCD and
And see what they can.
I know how to go about this. So.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great, John.
Okay.
So John's gonna call the Department of Community Development to find out who did the inspection, to see if we have any recourse.
Thanks for sharing that, Loretta.
Okay, good. Thank you, John. Okay, building use policy. Peter?
Yeah, Dolores and Penny and I met a couple of days ago, and we went through this wonderful document, and we made a few changes to it and added some editorial things and modified. One of the interesting parts of this was that when we were going through, when I was looking at it yesterday to update the document as we had made changes, I had the original that Linda sent me so that I could work with the entire document, which includes, because we were working with this, but we didn't have this to put onto which is the actual building request.
Okay.
And all the documents to go with the building request. So I got that, and so I started working with that document and found out it was locked. When David Wilkinson had made it, he password protected it, which made sense to me. I mean, you don't want anybody messing with a document that's going to be. So I called David. I says, "What's the password?" We'll just leave it right there. Anyway, I put up both documents side by side, and I took a look at his document, our document with the changes, and made it all modified. Got it together, sent it all out to you. Now, I don't have any physical copies because I didn't make any, but all of you got electronic copies of this. And we did these sorts of things. We had a fun time, didn't we, Dee and Henry, with Buck?
Yeah, talking about Buck?
Buck,
Which
the building use coordinator.
Oh,
So the buck stops here.
We went through all of that, yes. So anyway, we decided that we're gonna change that from BUC to just BC. So then it's gonna be the BC who has to approve the BC.
Better than BS, I guess.
Well, no BS about it. One of the things we thought would be appropriate is to put a map into this document of the building itself. So that when a floor plan, so when people are taking a look at the document, you know, they're wanting to come in here and use the building, they know where everything is. And it gives an idea of what our setup is, although this is not quite accurate as the one I have.
And it also,
Close enough.
Well, you can also delineate on the map the areas that are not to be in.
yes.
Right, and that was another thing we brought up too, was what areas would be locked, like the sacristy and mechanical room and
Yeah.
the office are not accessible. So we did that, and then we moved a few things around, like the definition of the building coordinator itself.
Yeah.
And Dee came up with a great writing of the definition of what this person's responsibilities are going to be. Because Loretta, one of the questions you had is, who is this person? So what we're gonna have to do is find a person who's going to be the building coordinator. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So anyway, when you look through it, you see the building coordinator serves as the main point of contact regarding matters related to any events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. General duties and responsibilities are, and there's a bulleted list that Dee came up with and that we have put in. Prohibited activities, the general use policies, most of this did not change. We did make one little change that was in here about priests and St. Paul's, and we changed it to make sure it was the right church.
Yeah, good
And the
idea.
right type of profession. So we made those editorial changes. Changed for use, musicians' use, we made sure that that became musicians, plural, because we have not only 2 organists and pianists, we also have John and Mark that play guitar, and who says they won't want to have a little extra work in their retirement years? I don't know. But anyway, because they, you got to retire first though. Because
I
they
was
have,
tired yesterday, I'm retired today.
okay, because they have first right to a refusal, they still are in this consulting list because we use them. What else was there? There was, we did a little rewrite.
Trash can, ashtray.
Yeah,
Can I jump in just a second here? Page 6.
Stop, Luke.
okay, page 6. He's gonna have fun with this. Okay, go ahead, page 6.
Can we do something better, like flowers and cakes and crap like that? This was ridiculous. This looked like a Lego setup.
It is a Lego setup,
It
it's,
is a Lego.
and it was there as a placeholder.
what that was.
I thought it was a gingerbread house at first, then I
It
put my
is.
glasses on and then.
It is a Lego gingerbread house that I constructed.
That's
And it
what
was-
put in
It was
decorations.
used as a placeholder, so if you got it, I sent you the wrong folder.
Yeah, I got it too.
Well, then I sent the wrong one. Because that's where the map shows up.
Here, I'll make this easy. I clicked through a few things. Here's
Okay.
my notes. First of all, I think you did an excellent job.
Okay.
Okay,
Small
I
notes.
played editorial.
No, that's great, and I think having everyone's feedback
Right,
is better
and it-
because then everyone's on the same
Well, we're
page.
gonna come up with a better document this way. And it was a great document in the first place, but it was a little wordy. It was. And we, as an editor myself, I made some, we went through and made some editorial changes to the way sentences were structured.
But there are a few concerns that we would like to have.
Yeah,
be
now,
seen.
the next thing that I want to bring up about this is the building coordinator. We, the 3 of us, considered that this person should be paid. Now, of course, that brings up things on making them part of the staff. How do we pay them? My recommendation was that we make it a commission type of painter, that if somebody comes in and we need to have a building coordinator overseeing something like a wedding or whatever it happens to be, that they receive percentage of whatever the costs are, the expenses are. And because we can make this a voluntary position, but I don't think that it's gonna happen.
You'll have trouble getting a volunteer.
Right. And if we make it a paid position where we're gonna have somebody who's going to, not necessarily on a monthly basis, but they know that they're gonna be paid for doing this work, I think we can find somebody who will say, yeah, I can step in and do that.
Compensated is the word I'd use rather than paid.
Yeah.
Well, compensation.
Paid gets into things, it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly,
Yeah,
or whatever.
Right.
Compensated means
General.
you get to put your hand in the till a little bit.
Well, I mean, those are the semantics that we can work with. And of course, I know that has some bearing on things like W-4s and
Yeah.
Social Security and
Yeah.
IRS. I get that. I do understand that. So Jim,
That's your question.
keep smiling.
He did.
It's there. We'll see. The other thing we wanted to do too was to make sure that we had a manual or a folder that had pictures of all the rooms. And so we'll have somebody go through and take pictures of all the rooms so that when somebody comes in to use this place who's not part of us and they move things around, they can look at the pictures and say, oh, put it back like this.
There's also another point to that for insurance reasons,
Sure.
that you have pictures of everything so that you know what you have and what's insured.
Right.
Well, and also, so what you had before they came and what wasn't
Right.
there when they left.
Yeah.
When they left, is it still here?
Yeah.
And of course, one of the things that was brought up was inventorying the kitchen. How much minutia do we have in there?
Don't take
More than you want to know.
So that came up. And I will get a hold of Barbara and Marty and see if they want to take that on or find somebody who wants to take that on.
Along with cleaning procedures.
So, can I make a comment?
Sure.
So you solved the mystery, because the question I had was, still had been in reviewing what you sent out was, how is it determined? Who is the building coordinator? And then in reading through what was sent out, it sounds like the person, and it sounds like it's reasonable to me as far as whoever does this, it's a big responsibility. It's a big time commitment responsibility that they be compensated in some way. But the role really is the building event coordinator as opposed to just a building coordinator, because the building coordinator, facilities coordinator, I would think would be the person who oversees the use of the facility for all uses. And since we're talking about two different types of uses, one would be special events, and then the other would be people that are regularly using our facilities for meetings. And this person wouldn't be in charge of that in terms of overseeing or ensuring that the place is in good order, or so that's not something they're doing anyway. So that was just we're just thinking it might be maybe a more apt description, like a building event coordinator, just something to suggest that it's not the building coordinator who's the go-to person.
Yeah, Loretta, I get that. And I would say, in my own opinion, is that regardless of whether it's a one-time event or a long-term contracted event, the building coordinator is going to oversee any of those. That's how I would look at that position. I think
so. If the quilting group is leaving like the kitchen or the place dirty, so I'm just thinking the different groups that I'm hoping we're going to have a lot of groups using the church on a regular basis, and things will come up just in terms of other groups coming in and using. There'll be some questions or concerns, and if it's directed, I just wondered who's it going to be directed to. So what you're saying, Peter, is that this person would respond to any concern about kind of after effects of use whether it's a special event or regular meetings.
I would, according to what Dee gave me, when she put this bulleted letter together, and I'll get this information out to make sure you've got the correct documents, I guess. One of the things is to manage and coordinate with rental applicant, kitchen catering, security, and other necessary staff related to the internal, external events. So I foresee that anybody who's going to take on this position, yes, they're going to be compensated for it. And I can see it if we have somebody coming in on a monthly basis, like AA who's made application to come in here. We may have upwards of 3. Loretta, you're lost. We may have upwards of 3.
I'm eating broccoli. I didn't think you wanted to see me eating broccoli.
Honey, we don't care. I had broccoli today. No, it's cauliflower. If we have that on a regular monthly basis, I can foresee that the building coordinator has part of that payment coming in as their commission for being the building coordinator, which gets into a bit of a, it's back to you, Jim, you know, how you're gonna set this sucker up.
Sounds like a sales job, going out and getting people to come in and pay the salary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a detail to work
Building
out.
coordinator is somebody who's gonna oversee what's happening inside the building.
Outside the building, yeah.
So their title oversees the whole thing that happens from start to finish
Right.
on St. Anthony.
Right.
You could change the title to building events coordinator, which means that person would only take care of just specifically events that happen.
Inside the building.
So, but it
Well,
depends
see,
how you want to word it.
I would be more interested, and this is something we're gonna have to address, more interested in the idea that they're going to oversee whatever is happening.
Right.
Whether it's because people are members of the church and we're having an event or having something, or they're not members of the church and we're having something. There are 2 different pay scales on that. And then, of course, the other thing is long-term contracts. And I would say that the building coordinator would oversee that as well. So that anything that's happening in this building, we have a person in this facility who is going to take care of that, oversee it.
Who takes care of the outside? Right now?
In terms of landscaping and such,
Landscaping.
Well, that's different.
or Make sure the bin's empty.
David.
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
And his title is?
Nice guy.
nice guy, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here mowing the lawn.
David,
Yeah.
he's our man.
So his
And
title
it's
is?
a voluntary
He doesn't have
job.
a title.
Okay, so there's no like facility manager or anything?
No.
Okay. I had researched all this through going, you know, if there's a coordinator in church.
Yeah.
That's how I came up with that. Because there's different descriptions to building coordinator to events, concerts, church, you know, business conventions. So this kind of, I pulled everything from certain things that pertain to church. So the building coordinator oversees the entire event from start to finish.
But we would have to revisit this if we decided to have a
Right.
convention
And you
here
have to make a
and-
contract for this
and
person.
made that into a convention building, that house. I mean, it's a possibility. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Don't start winding that watch. You got to put that on the way.
I know. That's why I leave it alone. Under decorations and floral arrangements, we did do some editing here. Decorations and floral arrangements may be placed on floor or on tables. No decorations or floral arrangements will be, decorations or floral arrangements will be freestanding and will not be placed on altars, piano, or organ. And then we also have in the original language is please do not hang, tape, or suspend. Little clarification there for the language.
You might want to add that, you don't, that they have to be natural, that you can't have plastic or fake flowers, etc.
I don't think we. are worried
Oh,
about that.
on your website, you had a wedding, there was
Yeah.
pedal on the ground.
Yeah.
It said on here,
Well, that's part of the cleanup.
Yeah, that was a cleanup and a half.
We might want to take that picture off the website.
It's a nice picture.
Okay, find somebody.
I mean, it states here
Photoshop out
though,
all the
which
panels.
may be placed on the floor. So that was.
Well, that's freestanding.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on.
Under the Episcopal weddings, Bill and I had a discussion about the language that's in our document, because a lot of it comes right out of the prayer book, and it says something about is a physical and spiritual union of a man and a woman, but our national church has made modifications to this.
Yeah.
And so Bill was nice enough to write a little easier piece for this.
I just took the whole thing, just
He threw it all out.
scoped it down into just a few things.
And what it says now is, let's see, weddings, this one. Weddings must conform to the laws of the state of Washington and canons of the Episcopal Church and the policies of the Bishop of Olympia. 30 days advance notice must be given. At least one of the parties must be baptized. The couple will receive instruction on marriage from the priest before the wedding. The couple must sign the declaration of intention. Clergy may decline to solemnize the marriage. The wedding must follow St. Antony's customary for weddings, which is a lot easier.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
All of the other parts about who can get married is now out.
It's good.
And it needs, well, I saw it and I said,
But
and why David put it in here, considering the fact that his spouse is not female. And, it didn't matter. To me, what it came out to be was, we had to clean that up.
Yeah,
And
so
so-
there's nothing in there about a man and a woman now.
Yeah,
So
that needed.
Bill was nice to.
And the clergy still has the discretion.
Yeah, that's right. It's
Yeah.
still in there with the
To not
boss.
solemnize it. So
And then, the document of intent and the whole.
Yeah.
nine yards.
And we have a whole customary weddings that would be given to them, so
Mhm.
there's more involved in this. This is just a little snapshot.
We needed the rental agreement, so that's now in here. And then under the use of alcohol with this,
I'm about ready.
yeah,
Yeah.
me too. We got rid of the word vestry and went to the Bishop's Committee. And we got rid of St. Paul's and put in St. Antony's.
I marked in there a couple of places where you still had it listed as parish, and we are not a parish. We're either a mission or congregation.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
and we can
proper.
change- that's easy to change. And then under the fees list, we added the word funerals because
That's feasible.
it is. People are dying to have us work it, so. And then, let's see, let me get down
It's here
here.
till Thursday. try to-
Funerals or memorial services?
You can put it as any way you want it. If we want to list it as memorials, that's fine.
Well, we don't do open casket, so
Yeah.
The other thing too was there was no mention of the nursery, the godly play, or the cry room in our list of fees. But if those people are going to be using those, do we want to charge for them? Now, I put them in on the list of, under other events, because it said fees for weddings, and we'll have to put in funerals on that too. Are the nursery, the godly playroom, and the cry room going to be included in whatever they sign up for? Because the only things that were listed were the gathering room, the kitchen, the
or
sanctuary.
you're gonna have to, you need a bride's room, you need
Yeah.
a groom's room, you gotta
Are we
do
gonna
that.
charge separately for those?
If they're renting a space, they're renting a
I think
space.
that's all part of the space. I
Yeah, it
mean,
should be a set.
and you're gonna have people with infants, so you might want to, and we have to get a speaker system run into the cry room.
It's already there.
It's working.
I think I just turn the knob.
And
Julie, turn it on.
I don't go in there, but I'll try it. This Sunday I'll sit in there.
Sit in there and cry. You can just turn the knob and listen.
I'll sit in there this Sunday.
Julie used it this Sunday and.
Julie did.
Yep.
Worked fine, didn't it?
Yeah.
You want
Yep.
something in here, turn the knob.
Yeah, Marie was hungry, so I went to the cry room and got to listen to everything while I fed the kid.
I think that's, I think we were the very first person to actually do that.
So it's a rent for the
Good,
event.
okay, good,
rather
I'm
than
glad.
individual.
Okay, moving along.
All right, so
Keep it
basically,
moving.
that's it. Other than we did look up verdure and we're not gonna use that term.
We have
What,
to have a.
what do we, let's try to move along here.
Yeah.
What do we got to do next?
That's important.
Well,
Is this actually the committee for revision, final revision now?
yeah,
So
we'll put this in for final review and then send it out
Okay,
for next meeting.
so
to
we'll
be
take
approved.
the comments that was, were given today.
Yeah.
Incorporate that and send it out again.
Yeah.
Okay, so then,
And I'll send out without the pretty little house,
okay.
because that was a placeholder for the map.
Carolyn has a beautiful set of pictures of flowers and cakes and things that she has done as decorations.
Yeah.
If you want to contact her about something like that to plug in there. You know, she's done all the altar flowers, she's done wedding cakes, she's done.
Here,
Yeah.
Oh, that was one of the other things that we keep, that Bill and I talked about. We had talked about it, so I brought it up to Bill. We don't have a firearms policy.
Oh, geez.
Sorry, but on their building
firearms,
use,
weapons, because they could.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
under this building policy, we didn't write it, but at some point, and we'll talk about this, and I'll talk to Bill about it. We're gonna have to have some kind of a firearm weapons policy about no.
yeah, come on, no.
Because, I mean, for instance, over at my sister's church in Sandpoint,
It was a
Idaho,
really bad sermon.
That's where my son lives in San Diego.
I brought one of my first books over there years ago, and it's the one with the gun on the front. And immediately, two guys came up and talked to me about, I know, I can tell you all about pistols and guns and things, and you want to talk about it, you just come see me. And what was strapped to their leg? A gun.
Yeah.
Carrying.
This will probably come up, but wouldn't it just be in line with what the state has or what the diocese says?
Yeah, and that's what we have to investigate.
Because, I mean, it would avoid a lot of politics if the diocese has a policy already.
Yeah.
I would think.
Why? Well, because we certainly do not, I mean, the chances of anything happening here are low, but we've already had synagogues, churches and temples that have already been attacked and dozens of people killed and injured. So we don't need to, we just need to make sure that we can.
Our visit came from Arkansas.
Yeah.
So.
I'll check on that, whether the diocese has a weapons policy. That's a good idea. Okay, so let's move to the next item on the agenda. The next item is transition update.
Okay, transition. This had nothing to do with you, except that you're gone in 3.5 months. Okay, so I don't cry, it's okay. I did talk to Arian Davison, who is the canon for the ordinary, and we had a meeting on Zoom, and many of you from the BC were there with us. And then I have since that time had a phone call with her in regard to our interim, because there was a name that was given to me, which is of course Craig, as possibly being the interim. And 2 weeks ago when I spoke to Craig, he already had been contacted by Arian, because I'd given her his name, and they had a meeting. I do not know the results of that meeting, and I will talk to Craig about it and find out. In the meantime, we're also working on having a meeting, and it is now scheduled for the Thursday, the 24th. Isn't that what I said?
Yes.
24th. And Jim, are you available at 6 o'clock on Thursday, the 24th of June? Check your calendar. Show up, please.
I already put you on your calendar.
Who's the meeting with?
And I sent you an email about it.
Who's supposed to get this?
With the correct, finally with the correct email address.
Peter, myself.
It would be Penny, myself, Arian.
So it's not a BC
Yeah,
jam.
it's not a BC thing.
Good, because I got something at 9 o'clock till about 2 o'clock in the morning now.
And we're gonna meet till 6. We're gonna meet at 6. And Arian's already said yes to it. She said it's fine. So the meeting is on. And of course, then what we're gonna be talking about there will be pretty much up to her to schedule. But I can foresee us talking about the letter of separation that needs to be constructed and agreed to and signed so that you can separate and you get everything you deserve.
It's just a form letter.
I know it is, but we still have to go through it.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about a committee that will put together the church's profile so that we can have that ready, and whether or not we can start it early or not, I don't know. We'll
You can
find out.
start it if you don't tell her.
True.
That is true.
You know, I don't work that way. But. And then, of course, the other committee we have is the search committee that she's already assured me will not be put together until Bill's gone. So those are the things that we're doing on the transition, looking for an interim, looking for the profile committee, and the monies that we have, Jim, for a search, because there will be expenses. And then I suppose at that time, Arian will also give us names of who can be the diocesan coordinator with us, like Sue Clary. Okay, any more questions? I'm done.
I don't have a question, just a comment. The link that you did send and suggested that we all watch it. It was from the diocese about being in transition.
Right.
It's about an hour long. It was very, very informative. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, I would encourage every BC member to do it.
Yes, and there are two others on that same link that are important. They're not going to necessarily be important to the BC members because we are not going to be members of either the profile committee or the search committee because we are members of the BC. And the diocese says we can't be on those committees. It's a simple thing. The only reason I ended up on the search committee last time was because I came off the vestry or the BC. Dick retired December 31st. So,
yeah. Okay. So ready to go on?
Oh, we had one other thing under the building use policy to request to use the picnic shelter. This was something that Ruth brought up to me. Her PEO group would like to use the picnic shelter. There's no definitive date for it. She says maybe 2 or 3 times, 10 to 15 people to use the event center.
And there's several ladies in this congregation that are members of that group.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll get her to schedule it with Linda.
Yeah.
Anytime someone schedules something with Linda to use this facility, they sign that rental agreement?
Well, in this case, they're not really renting it. This is, if our members are part of it, like this case, we don't need to have a rental agreement.
Just coordinate that they're gonna be there.
Yeah, because our people, it's really ministry of our church in the sense that our people are.
It's their church too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I have the church on the 10th of next month. I don't know, I forget what date it was. It got changed for Curcio.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll be using it, but we'll be just using the nave.
Right.
Is that on the same day as something else?
No, the concert is the Sunday and we'll be there Saturday.
You'll be there Saturday. Okay. Yeah. Good.
Okay, so it's I'll get back to Ruth and have her set it up with Linda.
Okay, good. Very good. Got that taken care of. Okay. Next item on the agenda is proposed land acknowledgement statement. And so I sent this big long thing to you. I just wanted to show you that we've done a lot of work on this, that one of the comments when we discussed this earlier was that we needed to do more work to learn about the tribes in our area and to become familiar with them and hopefully to maybe get a speaker. So I called the tribe, or I emailed the tribe, the information officer, and they say, we don't have speakers to go out. But we have a big webinar in the fall and we invite you to be part of that. So I can't get a speaker, but we did have a chance to do the sacred ground discussion on it. A lot of us learned a lot. Katie taught about the Suquamish tribe one night, and the next night she told us about the Squamish tribe. Very informative. So we've done some work. So I think we're ready if we want to vote on that. And so we can have discussion here. I gave a suggestion. We acknowledge that the Suquamish, I got the wrong name in there. It's the S'Klallam, not the Duwamish. The Suquamish and S'Klallam people are the traditional stewards of the land on which our buildings stand, and we pay our respect to their people and heritage.
That's nice.
It's simple, it's short.
Yeah.
The only thing in the traditional are probably historical stewards.
Well, they're prehistory.
Mhm.
History goes back as far as records go, but they go back far beyond that.
Yeah. The other thing is the diocese, every one of the meetings that the diocese has, or any of the meetings taking place, always open with a land acknowledgement statement. They open their meetings with that.
I'm not suggesting we open our
No, I'm
meetings.
just saying, so there's a whole part of that that's already being run
Right.
through the diocese.
Right. I'm just suggesting on the bulletin and on the newsletter.
Yep.
So pretty minimal.
Yeah.
Thing.
Shall we get them a plaque and put it on the building?
Well, we could possibly do that later, but for now, start with something small.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sure.
Somebody make
I
it.
think the statement, I like the statement. It's short and respectful, and it sounds like that would be a good thing to include on our bulletin and maybe a few other places.
Yeah. Compared to other acknowledgement statements, I think this one was pretty good.
When I was at Evergreen, they had one that was very similar, short, sweet, to the point. It acknowledges that, this land was not really taken rightfully.
Mhm. Yeah, we're not saying it wasn't taken rightfully. We're just saying they were the traditional stewards.
But yeah,
It,
but it's very similar to other places.
Yeah. All right.
As long as it doesn't include critical race theory, I think it's all right.
Yeah, there's no critical race theory here, I don't think.
Science. Whose traditional land was it when somebody came in and took it from them of another Indian tribe, Native American tribe? Because that happened all over the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, and that's why we got two tribes in there, because it's not just one. So, well, I'll make the motion, and if I can get a second.
Sure.
Okay, yes, sir. That we have that statement for our website and bulletin. Ready to vote?
Yep.
All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand, I should say.
Hands up.
Okay, it passes by majority. All right. New business. Julie, did you want to talk about a playset?
Yes. So I'll keep this short because it's going a bit long. But so let's see if I can pull up that.
You did a good
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
Right, I sent the PowerPoint out that has most of the information. So we're kind of in this position with the playset that, excuse you, thank you. Clearly. Yes, my child's helpful. So we're in this position that from the ground up, we have the what are we putting down question. Having had cats, we really don't want sand. No. A lot of people have mentioned that rubber, which is that rubber mulch. That would run us roughly about $3,200 just for the mulch. Or pea gravel, which is $25 a truckload or trailer load. So depending on the trailer, you're looking at quite a bit of gravel for not a lot of money. We did the place in our backyard for 2 truckloads. We might put another half a truckload on there. So $50 and done. It's about twice the size. So you're looking at about $200 for pea gravel versus $3,200 for mulch. As far as the play sets go themselves, we had talked about commercial and, you know, meeting that age range of about 2 years old to 12 years old. Chances are after 12 years old, they're probably not going to go onto the play set during or after church that often, except to play with a younger sibling or, you know, a cousin or something. Let's be honest. So commercial wise, the lowest I was able to get it without a slide to just looking at the options was $2,030. And that is the run of the mill. Let's see if I can share screen. Oh, nope. That's the run of the mill, nothing really exciting about it. It is stairs going up to a slide, sliding down. And from there you have, oh, hey, it did work, yay.
Yeah, I just changed the settings.
There we go. So you have run of the mill, not really that great. I know Loretta said it's not really about having a lot of stuff, but I do think a little bit more than a slide would probably be beneficial if we're going to do that. Hey, Mozart. Shh. You've got next option, something along the lines this, you're looking at, it jumps immediately to almost $6,000. This is without a slide, or not slide, but without swings. On the high end of what the space can allow, because it's a 32 by 32 space, you're looking at about $9,000, $10,000. For a little bit more, that's the upper end. And adding a slide is another, you know, $3,000. Oh, swings, sorry. That's the commercial. Now, honestly, I went with this based off of where I'm coming from, which is not a whole lot of money and everything's kind of budgeted. And I'm assuming the church is in the same position because let's face it, COVID's been rough. We're only in the black right now because of some generous hearts. And so Jesse was very nice and took a stop by the old Costco to see if we did a stopgap situation, what are our options? So there are some non-industrial options if we did a stopgap to be able to save up money for something really nice down the road, to where we could go ahead and get something for $1,000, $1,500 with swing and everything there, but with the knowledge that it's wood. A lot of it's wood and wood rots. The commercial stuff is probably going to outlive a good number of our parishioners. Costco, not so much, but it would last. It would last until we're able to save up money for something nice and big, because I see Jim's reports and it's really not a pretty year. Little better than last year, but not that pretty. So we're looking overall, you know, non-commercial, we could do it easily under 3,000. If we did commercial, we're realistically looking, we're looking at spending about, you know, $5,000 or more. Questions?
What do you recommend?
My gut says that we might be better off getting a stopgap and wait for a better year on income for getting something nicer. It might be a little bit more expensive then, but it's also kind of, it's hard for me to say, let's put $10,000 down for a play set when we are barely going to be in the black by the end of the year. If we were going to go commercial, I would actually recommend not the 9,000, but actually the this one. the Jeremy. It's 7,500. The pea gravel, again, that is per the truckload, so that just depends on the truck. But this has something kind of for many ages. The littles have tunnels that'll keep them low. Even up high, it's fenced in all the way at the top. That's not the, true for a lot of things. It's customizable. So the church is gorgeous. We could customize this to match the church, which is kind of nice in that we don't have to have something gaudy if we don't want to have something gaudy, if that makes sense. Thank you for the tomato. Can you put the tomato over there? Thank you.
Okay, well, but you know, we don't have it in the budget, so we have to raise the money for it somehow. So whatever we do, it's gonna have to, we're gonna have to find the funds for it.
Right.
Is there a possibility that we could find a company that sells units of equipment so we could start and then add to it?
What was that?
Is there a possibility that we find a company that actually would sell us units and we could add to it? In other words, we could buy one section, like the slide and the little thing, and then maybe add something else and something else from the same company.
So this company does do modular. Probably their closest, so you can see with the test, it's very similar platform setup as the others, and that's because it is modular. You can, but adding to a modular is not as easy as it sounds, because you have to actually put these posts in the ground, at least I want to say like 3 feet in concrete. And so, yeah. So we can add to these, but the space is only 32 by 32, which sounds really big until you realize that you need about a 5-foot buffer all around the playground equipment in case someone falls. So we could do that as far as try to add to it. If you went with that thought process, we'd almost be better off getting a smaller one and save up for a slide and add a slide, not a slide. Why do I keep saying slide? A swing set. It's going to be easier to start with a play set and add a swing than it is going to be, I think, to add to a play set modular, because it's not like wood.
Okay, well, let's what comments does other people have?
Well, I think we've accomplished the goal of what we had, is to find out some parameters on costs and that sort of thing. And now we can do planning as we move forward, budgeting as we move forward. So Julie, thank you for gathering the information, because that's what we needed.
And I'm very much the idea of doing the pea gravel, because I was over in Seattle the other day, and Loyal Heights Recreation Center has redone their play areas, just gorgeous. They've done wood chips. Yeah. And the first thing that comes to my mind with those barefoot running around is splinters. And then as for the rubber pieces, there was a horrible report that came out about the Nisqually River and the dam and what that construction company did with the artificial turf and the ground rubber that went into the commencement bay. So I'm not for rubber.
It's also ground up tires, so you wind up with all the steel belts and everything ground up in it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've got the information. Why don't we work on this for next meeting to try to figure out how we want to fund this? Would that be all right?
Sure.
Okay, so now we know what's out there and what's available. Let's think about next meeting about how to facilitate it. Is that all right?
Sounds good.
Okay, good. Thank you, Julie. Okay, Loretta, you wanted to talk about the Brandenburg Fund.
Yeah, so I think most of you know the Brandenburg Fund was an endowment fund provided by Reverend Marilyn Brandenburg before she died. And it was specifically to be used for outreach work. When Dee and I took over as outreach commissioners, there was some uncertainty regarding exactly what's appropriate use of the fund and what's the procedure for it. So we had a meeting about a week ago just to get some history from Dick Scott, who knew Marilyn personally, and he just told us more about her, and also shared his thoughts regarding what her intent might have been regarding this endowment fund. And Chris Croson was present and gave a really nice historical perspective of how the fund has been used. So based on what was discussed as a group, we came up with just some clarification as far as what's the criteria to use the fund, what's the procedure. I sent out a draft of that. I don't know if I sent it to the BC. Bill, I sent it to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so I sent out a draft. So the reason I'm bringing it up now is to, if you have, Bill, can you bring it up so everyone can take a look at the draft?
Well, yeah, I think everybody can get close enough to the computer to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see here if I can find that.
It's short enough. I could just read it. So I came up with a draft, and after I sent it, and I'm out of town, I'm on a trip. Chris Croson sent some suggestions. So what I'm going to do right now is just read through the proposed guideline for use of the Brandenburg Endowment Fund, and I'm presenting it tonight with a request to. I'm going to make a motion that we accept this to go with the original letter from Reverend Brandenburg as far as this establishing the fund. Okay, so guidelines for use of the Brandenburg Endowment Fund. Criteria for use. At least 2 St. Antony members provide hands-on, in-person assistance to a nonprofit charitable organization. Assistance is provided either one time or occurs on a regular or periodic basis. Procedure to use the funds. Initial request is made to the outreach committee. The endowment fund point of contact is informed of the request and advises regarding the available funds. The outreach committee considers whether the request meets the criteria for use of the fund and brings the request to the BC. If approved by the BC, the endowment fund point of contact is notified and the BC treasurer dispenses funds to the nonprofit organization. So the criteria for use and procedure to request distribution of funds, that was discussed at this meeting, and there was consensus that, yeah, that sounds good. The couple of add-ons that Chris sent that I got after I wrote this up, he's suggesting, as far as at least 2 St. Antony members provide hands-on assistance, that it should be 2 unrelated St. Antony members. He also suggested, as far as a nonprofit charitable organization, he's suggesting that it be changed to a certified 501c3 nonprofit organization. He had a couple of other suggestions that kind of made sense to me in terms of the endowment fund point of contact. He wanted it to be the outreach endowment fund point of contact. And also, when the point of contact is notified of the request for use of the funds, that person is also advised of the amount of the request, and then he would provide how much money is available. So, I would like some input from the BC as far as the 2 points. One is Chris suggested at least 2 unrelated St. Antony members. I'm fine with just 2 St. Antony members. If they're 2 family members and both of them are volunteering at an organization and it meets criteria for possible use of these funds, that's fine with me. So I'm not sure. I told him he could come to this meeting to maybe clarify what he thought about that. And then, as far as I'd like input, as far as a 501c nonprofit organization, that kind of makes sense to me. That just what I had written was just a nonprofit charitable organization. He's suggesting it be a certified 501c3 nonprofit organization. So any discussion or thoughts about either of those points?
Yeah, I think if it's a couple from the same family, no problem.
I spoke with Chris, he called me yesterday and we had a lengthy conversation about this and he sent me the information that you were just discussing, his questions. And I thought maybe he was gonna be here. I did tell him we were doing a Zoom, but he wasn't interested. So he didn't come, but yes, and if he sent this list just to me, but I think he sent it also, it was from Chris, it was also to you. That's
Right.
The draft addendum guidelines.
That's what it should be.
Yeah. And he forwarded that list to me as well.
Okay.
Using the 501c3 strictly really eliminates a lot of little startup things that are not businesses, but the 501c3 is a business. So I would, that's a little iffy, I think.
There's not many nonprofit or 501c3. Well, not many nonprofits.
Yeah.
Organization.
But it's a business. I mean, it's.
Are you saying that we should demand that it be a 501c3?
No, I'm saying that we need to be aware of that because there are a lot of small startup things which might be really good that you can see.
I agree.
Well, that's where the oversight needs to be is that
Yeah.
if an organization claims to be a nonprofit, they have to really kind of prove it.
Yeah.
And the contracting with the state as a 501c3 is a great way to prove that you really are, because then there's state oversight.
Point of clarification, 501c3 is an IRS designation.
Yes.
Okay, the state of Washington, the Secretary of State lists agencies that are nonprofit. So where are you gonna go for your information? I agree with you. There's a lot of organizations that don't meet 501c3 criteria, but they are good charitable organizations. So I think you get yourself too restricted in there. It's a little bit like doing bylaws. If you're never doing bylaws, you want to say the generalities of what you want. You don't want to start getting into the details because you'll shaft yourself down the road. This is kind of in the same category. You want to just keep it open and let your outreach committee make that determination. That's their job.
Yeah, that's their job too. Yeah, to sit through it and decide whether it's worth it.
Okay, so then I'll just keep it at least 2 St. Anthony members provide hands-on in-person assistance to a nonprofit charitable organization.
Yep.
Period. Okay.
I think there's some
Okay.
you can say in having more than one family represented. You know, if we're having, if it's just a couple that's doing it, that's a one, right? They become one flesh, right? So there's, I think there's some advantage in seeing if you can have 2 families that be instead of just one. But, you know, however you want to do it.
What do other people think?
Again, that's the outreach committee's job.
Yeah, I think that goes to outreach committee.
Okay.
You can
Okay.
into situations where like one couple will run everything, you know, and that's not too healthy. And I can see that point. Sometimes gets a little inbred. But sometimes you have a couple who's just really got a good heart and they want to do some stuff, and I don't know.
And they did get one other couple to go with them.
Well,
Okay.
depending too on the organization, like if they say, we're actually open for 4 more people if we have any. So can we do more than 2?
Oh, sure.
So it really just
She says
depends
at
on-
least.
Not limited, it's at least.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think, Penny?
I think if we're in a minimum of 2 people from St. Anthony's might be the way to go.
It doesn't have to be related.
They could be related, or they couldn't. be.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I like them.
I think that's what it said. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so so I'll just leave that first paragraph as is, as far as 2 members in a nonprofit charitable organization, not specifically a 501c. And if he made a few other suggestions that make sense to me, as far as he didn't want it to be the endowment fund point of contact. He wanted it to be the outreach endowment fund point of contact. That's fine. And then he did make a good point as far as the outreach committee, initial request is made to the outreach committee. The endowment fund point of contact is informed of the request and the amount of the request. So that's what Chris is wanting added. That makes sense. And advises regarding available funds.
Yeah.
So I'll change it to reflect that.
Those are all good edits and clarifications. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'd like to make a motion to approve this addendum to be added to the initial Brandenburg letter establishing the fund that would help guide the current outreach, but also future outreach. So I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Is this with those changes? Your motion?
With,
The one she
when
said-
you say
she said.
those changes, yeah, some of the changes that I just went over, the two things that Chris had suggested, I'm not going to be including in this, which is the 2 unrelated St. Antony members and the 501c nonprofit.
Right, but it is with the other items that are being added into it.
Yes, just the kind of a name, the outreach endowment fund point of contact, and then informing that person of the amount requested.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand.
Great.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And that's really great because, it's nice to have clear policies. Okay, Esther, we had a request from the AA group to meet here, and I think you were going to talk to them. Did you get any answer?
I called him, I texted him. I couldn't find him. I do know through the grapevine that groups are continuing to look for places, but it's very fluid right now.
Okay.
And so, I don't have a specific request, but I'm hopeful that we will get a group that will come and meet here. It's a great setting and it's a way to get people into church. So, but right now I don't, Rick has disappeared.
Okay, so.
But he is anonymous.
He's anonymous.
And it obviously now it's fluid.
Okay, so maybe you can keep trying.
Oh, yeah, I'll go over to the Blue House. They're having meetings there now, and I don't, it's hard to believe that a Blue House is a hot idea on the realty market if you've ever been inside it, but
Yeah. Well, it's the real estate.
Blue House will be there very long.
it's the land, yeah, right,
Yeah.
it's the land that they wanted, and of course, that's right next to that fancy restaurant, so.
Yeah, it's hot real estate.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Esther. John, something about the landscape.
This is really brief. In the construction of the building, we had to buy a bond, had to carry it for 2 years for the landscape, just to prove that we weren't gonna dig it up and throw it away or let it die. They came out, inspected the property, I got the insurance company to release the bond, the county had to write a letter to release it. That's done, so that monkey is off on that.
So now we can dig up the plants.
Now we can bring up the plants and everything.
Well, one of the things that required us to do was to irrigate to keep them alive. So we don't have to do that irrigation. I think they're pretty well established.
Yeah.
The pines and the firs are growing great guns.
And the grass.
Okay, thanks. Let's see, power.
Yes.
Power to the shelter.
It's kind of exciting. Mark, Weston and I got a bug in our bonnet because the concert coming up on the 27th, they're gonna need some power out there. So we started talking about the plant generators, this and that. I went, There's conduit that runs all the way from out there, all the way back to the power panel. So it took us a little bit of working around, but we found the whole path for the conduit. I came out with my daughter, Carrie. We have mule tape, which is a pulling string, all the way through, all the way to the power panel in the back, and it's all set to go. I have ordered 2 of these. These are called spider boxes. They plug in, and what we're gonna do is just put 2 outlets out there. These have the circuit breakers in them. These are GFI protected, everything else. So you plug these in straight to the power panel back there. Then you can plug them in. We're gonna put one on the post on this end, one on the post on the far end. We can pick these up and take them away. They don't have to be there when we're not using them. If somebody wants to use the event shelter or something, oh, you want power out there? $50, $75 for both of them. Okay, so you got an opportunity.
One more thing to add.
Yeah, you're
Building-
right.
I have the wire on order to pull it in. Okay, so we can pull it in. The biggest thing with this is the cost is coming along. We can do the whole thing for $2,000. And so I'd like to see if Jim could look at the money. Maybe we could take the money from some of the maintenance money from the rental house. If we have some excess funds there and just.
We still have money in the building fund. That's part of building.
Do we have money in the building fund?
Let's use that.
Okay,
Good enough.
okay, then let's do that, because right now it's all in my wallet, so I'd like to get it out of my
Thank
wallet.
you.
Hey,
I'm in plenty for the sound system already, so I was.
And
Anyway,
again, thank you.
so, okay, well, I'll just keep all the bills together and then I'll turn them into you, Jim.
good. Fantastic.
And we will have power out there for the 27th concert.
Okay, why don't we make that motion? You want to make that motion?
I'd like to move that we authorize up to $2,000 for placing power to the event shelter.
Okay,
Second,
yeah,
yes.
second. All right, there's a motion and a second.
Who seconded? You did.
Penny,
All the labor is volunteer to put it in, so.
thank you.
That's not in this moment.
Okay, if there's any other questions or anything, all in favor, raise your hand.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay. Very good. Now, Loretta, the next item is to hire a landscape architect for grounds planning. Did you want to say something about that? I think you're muted.
I think you're right. Okay. Yeah, so with the building of the church, there was the landscaping that was done, some nice preliminary landscaping, and since then, I think people have had different ideas about what can be done on the grounds, and I thought, as far as just kind of the long-term just comfort for the parishioners, as well as how we want the church to look now, but also in the future, it'd be good to have more of a plan as far as how we put things on the property as people have ideas. And I thought it would be helpful to hire a landscape architect to come up with a plan that we over time could implement. Maybe we identify at this point in our church, this new church history life, identify what it is we'd like to, in addition to what's already there, be on the property. And then for someone to kind of come up with a bigger plan of how that could look, like the memorial garden. We've talked about that. It's been suggested, and something I'm interested in, a walking path around the property. The playground, the front church area, there's just a lot of good ideas as far as what to do with the church. It'd be nice to have a cohesive plan that would incorporate the ideas we have now, and someone who could then kind of outline kind of what plants would look good, that not necessarily we all do at once, but maybe over time do. So at this point, I just wanted to throw that out as far as that's an interest that I have, and I'd be interested in looking for a landscape design person, and maybe get a couple of bids to present maybe at the next meeting, and wondered if there was someone who would like to work with me on that. In the meantime, I know, Emily, we've talked about some plantings in front of the church, which I think makes sense, because that's what you see when you come up the driveway. So I think if we move forward with looking and finding a landscape designer that wouldn't stop doing some plantings now, so we could kind of enjoy that now.
We'd have to be a little bit cautious in that. One of the churches I've been to did that willy-nilly, and it ended up overrunning the church, and they had to tear out one of the trees because it wasn't the type of tree that grew straight down. It grew out and was affecting structure of the church. So as a botanist, I would say move cautiously on where you're planting.
Yeah. Yeah, and there is a master gardener who is going to be volunteering her time, not as a master gardener, but she said she'd come and just talk to interested people about plants that could work. So, but that's an excellent point. And that's part of the, thinking ahead as far as the spaces and how we want it to look and function for us and what plants would be happy in those spaces. So
I'll work with you on that, Loretta.
great. Thank you, Emily.
Okay, so that sounds,
We talked about it before, yeah.
that sound all right with everybody that we investigate a landscape architect?
Sure.
Okay, and I'm sorry, there's one addition to that, with the possibility of requesting funding for the landscape architect from memorial funds.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, we have to go to the memorial committee for that, but sure, that's a possibility. It sounds to me like a reasonable request. We talked about using memorial funds for the memorial garden. Oops, sorry. Okay, do you need a motion or are we just okay with the agreement on? Okay, so we'll just agree to do that. Okay, thank you, Loretta. That's great.
Good.
Okay, so that'll be next time. Okay, anybody have anything more they want to add?
A couple of things came up that Loretta brought up about landscaping. The question came up to me from a couple of people about our front signage. And at some point, we're going to go through the county to put up the proper type of sign that we want there to advertise so that people can see us. Well, the one we have right now is
It's temporary.
temporary.
Yeah, won't last 20 years.
What has to happen is you have to have a design, then the design goes to the county and the county approves it.
We don't have a design yet.
Right.
Okay. So that was brought up, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Okay.
Good idea.
Yep.
Because you can drive right past you. If you're not.
Well, and that's what
That's what I said.
was brought up, was that you can drive by.
Well,
That was it.
Yeah.
Well, and just so you have an idea, that there is a conduit from the power panel from the back room that goes all the way out to a box that's out there that's sitting there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we have flashing lights.
No, we cannot with the county.
No.
That was the one thing I can guarantee you, we cannot
Neon sign.
do a scrolling sign or reader board sign that is right in our land use stuff.
John, is that?
We can put an illuminated sign, but it has to be downlit, can't be uplit.
Is that on north side of the driveway?
Yes, the power box, yeah, it's dead center. I put 3 conduits from the building out to the pole out there. And we intercepted one of them to use that as the power, and they took it into the power panel. The other 2 go to the pole for communication stuff.
Yeah, good. Good.
So it came up, and I think at some point in the next few months, maybe the next year, that we need to start investigating that.
Well, what we want to do is whatever we decide as a sign. I'm also going to talk to the guy who does my line work and stuff for me to push underneath the road and put another little box here and connect it back to that box. So we can put a light on both sides of the driveway.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
and get it illuminated.
Yeah.
And then we can do whatever we want to do in there. But the capability of doing all that is there without having a lot of pain.
Great.
So, and it's all pre-planned.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, getting on here. It's 8:15. Anything else for the good of the organization?
I've enjoyed the fact that we're open.
Oh, boy,
Yeah.
it's been great.
Oh, yes.
I have
so nice.
enjoyed being on the altar and working. And hopefully at some point, we'll get back to the point where the EM can do the EM job.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we will someday.
Someday.
You know, at some point, we'll be able to do everything like normal.
Well, people,
Never been normal.
there's been a really great spirit. People are just so happy to be back in
Yeah.
church and to see each other. And it's I just feel a real overflowing of energy.
Well, I found the numbers in your report.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
The fact that the numbers are showing that people are still interested even online.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to keep two sets of numbers now, the people in the pews and the people on screens.
Pews and views.
Pews and
There you
pews.
go. Oh, I like that views.
Yeah.
I still like bucket.
What?
I still like bucket.
Okay. All right.
Okay, well, I knew that would come from.
I think the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks,
night,
everybody
everyone.
online.
Good stuff recorded.
Thank you. Thanks for setting it up, Bill.
Yeah, you bet.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Loretta. Here we go.
I would like to say that if anybody has the chance to work with Dee,